From here, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Pete Castro, our product manager here at Conga, Christina Anderson, product marketing at Salesforce, and Peter Haldman from product at Adobe. So I'm going to pass over to Christina and kick this off, and she'll share the first step in the contracting process.
Thanks so much, Lizzie.
No problem.
Okay, so with Salesforce CPQ, what we're really focused on is automating that last part of the sales cycle, configuring products, pricing out those products, and then sending out a quote or proposal. Now, why is that automation so important? Well, for organizations that haven't automated this last process, nearly 70% of deals fall apart in this stage, and this is for a couple of reasons. First, the sales rep just isn't able to move fast enough. The customer may want a proposal by the end of the day, and without automation, the sales rep just can't pull it together in time. And then second, quotes can be wildly inaccurate. Between sifting through hundreds of products, maybe even digging around in Excel, and then the issue with SKU proliferation, it makes it too difficult for reps to find the right product and pricing information, which makes it really hard to put together an accurate quote. And then finally, there's just too much for sales reps to do. You take these issues and you compound them across tens, hundreds, or even thousands of deals every quarter, and you have a real problem on your hands. And this issue is what we're calling the quote-to-cash gap. So what we're seeing is salespeople languishing in this quote-to-cash gap, lengthening the sales process, making it hard to manage proposals and contracts. But we have to be really mindful that it's not just sales that's suffering. When it comes time to deliver services and recognize revenue, the information that we generate or don't generate in the sales cycle affects the finance department as well. So when we're inaccurate with sales data, finance ends up being the one who has to go in and clean up the mess. And this really becomes an issue when having to adhere to rules and regulations like the upcoming ASC 606, which governs how finance reports on revenue. It's an issue for other departments as well as finance. For example, support needs to know what the customer is entitled to based on their contracts, such as warranties. And if they don't know this information, it can be a big problem. So really, this quote-to-cash gap is a much bigger issue across all parts of the business than people really think about. Thankfully, Salesforce provides the only platform that fully closes this gap end-to-end. We help you find the right product for your customer, control pricing and discounting, generate accurate proposals, and then get into that dynamic process of contract and contract management, and help you protect margins, which ultimately helps you grow your business. With Salesforce, you can really kick off the contract and negotiation stage on the right foot. And this is what gets us really excited. CPQ touches on such an integral part of the sales cycle that it's hard to create one product that covers on all of your needs. We recognize that to give the most value to our customers, we have to open up our platform to our partners like Conga and Adobe to offer critical aspects like contract redlining, signing, and ultimately contract management. And here's the best part about that. You can do all of this from lead to cash without leaving the Sales Cloud. And when you think about it, the benefit really comes when your reps and sales ops users adopt the tools that you give them. And when you give them a single platform with a great user experience, like what we have on Lightning, it's almost like magic. And that's really where you start to see the benefits of quote to cash, such as improving quote to order conversion, reducing approval times, finding a faster way to generate quotes and proposals, and reducing errors. All of this helps you close deals faster. One of our customers, Mitsubishi Electric, you could take up to 2 weeks to create a single quote. And they cut that time down with Salesforce CPQ to just 2 hours. That time saving really helps their reps stop wasting time and close more deals. And now I'm going to pass it off to Pete from Conga to talk a little bit more about the contract process.
Thanks, Christina. So my name is Pete Castro. I'm the product manager at Conga. I've been with the company for about 5 years, and I'm currently responsible for our latest product, Conga Contracts, which is where Conga helps Salesforce close that lead to cash gap. So do any of these quotes sound familiar to anyone in our audience? These help illustrate the problems that sales teams face with regard to their contracting process. The sales rep. Negotiations slow me down. I could close more deals if I were allowed to make these changes. The sales ops manager. I can't trust my reps to go update their data in Salesforce once they've moved on to the next opportunity. Things like these, things like the renewal pipeline may be inaccurate and could lead to us sending the customer a wrong contract or missing a renewal entirely. These are some of the problems that we seek to solve with our set of products that you're going to be seeing later on in this presentation. So here are some statistics to help describe the nature of business-to-business sales and how contracting fits into the process. Although the contract process is necessary, it can cause delays in the sales cycle, which can cause frustration amongst the team. So a quick story for everyone to sort of get you in the right mindset. So on the right, we have Henry. Henry is a Salesforce user, and he's authorized to create sales contracts using Salesforce CPQ. He's currently working on a deal with Howard, a new potential client. Though Howard is a tough negotiator, and this could take several rounds to get all the legal terms in our contract to where both parties are happy. Contract may go back and forth many times, but once we finally are in an agreed upon state, we want to do a couple things. We want to make Salesforce is up to date with all the accurate information that we agreed to at the end of the negotiation. We want to create a document that reflects all of those terms, and we want to get it over to Howard as fast as possible to get it signed. But I want to draw your focus to some of the questions in Tiffany's mind over on the left, and her concerns as a company stakeholder and Howard and Henry's manager. These are important questions to answer, and when the answers are readily available, deals will move faster and more efficiently, which will in turn lead to better revenue. There are numerous benefits for implementing a contract management solution in your organization. Users can follow contract negotiations every step of the way. People that typically weren't involved in these processes, and it was sort of the negotiation step was typically a black hole to them. They can view the terms and conditions that are being negotiated, why, providing an opportunity for the sales rep to step in and accelerate a deal to close through that negotiation phase. Data is kept in sync with Salesforce so that the contract terms are always accurate and up to date throughout the whole negotiation, and especially at the end. This will have positive effects on all the downstream activities related to the customer journey, such as accurate billing and fulfillment. Documents persist in a digital shared repository so that anyone in the company can quickly find and understand the nature of a contract with one of your customers. And the ultimate benefit is that gaining insights from all of these processes and all of this data, we can optimize our business by identifying bottlenecks in the process, understanding the frequency of change, forecasting pipeline, and potentially many more areas for improvement. Rolling out a contract management solution can be a daunting task. Some of you may have gone through this, some of you may be going through it right now. And I can assure you that there are a lot of different company leaders from a variety of different departments in your organization that will want to have a say in how this works, because contracting inevitably has some sort of effect on everyone. But remember, although the change can be hard, the change is good. Larger renewals, improved delivery time, faster contract cycles, and faster negotiations, all helping speed up that lead to cash process. So I've been talking a lot about the theoretical benefits of an improved process to your business can enjoy by implementing a contract management system. But you don't need to take my word for it. Here's some proof from a real-life customer, one of our very first, that decided to automate their contract creation process, internal drafting, and ultimately using electronic signature, and they've seen immediate time savings and improved efficiency. So real quick, by a little background, the state of Utah implemented a program to provide tax credits to businesses that were willing to move their operations to the state. And the Governor's Office of Economic Development, a Salesforce customer, was using Salesforce to accept these grant applications from companies moving to Utah through a web portal or a Salesforce community. All this data would come into their Salesforce org, and then from there, it would go into this lengthy manual process where a contracts administrator would have to sort of transpose all of this data to an Excel file, where he would use old-fashioned mail merge processes to draft a boilerplate template. He would email it to internal legal people who would then send it around for amendments and some tweaks and changes. All approvals to standard legal language needed to route back through the contract administrator. He needed to manually keep track of versions, merging documents, and then updating all of this information back into Salesforce so that he can send the applicant the ultimate grant contract that they were willing to give that person. And then about a year ago, this administrator saw a demo of Conga contracts. And we've since then implemented the application, and they have been reaping amazing benefits from using it. When the grant applications come into the web portal, they are automatically stored in Salesforce as a new contract. Our workflow solutions are automatically creating these boilerplate template documents and sending them off for negotiation to the internal stakeholders automatically without any intervention. The Conga contracts tool lets the internal drafting parties route it around, adding changes and automatically versioning the document within Salesforce. And then once it's all ready to go, they're using electronic signature to send it back to the applicant and get the grant contract signed. So if you're interested in hearing some more details and reading the full story about our customers over at the state of Utah, this case study is published on our website. So now I'd like to turn things over to my friend from Adobe, Peter Haldeman, to tell us more about that last step in the deal cycle, which is getting our contract signed.
Excellent. Thank you, Pete. Hi, everyone. I am Peter Haldeman from the Adobe Sign team, and I want to talk a little bit about this final step in the contract process, which is, confirming agreement through signatures. This isn't necessarily the easy part. A lot can go wrong here, and because these agreements are the building blocks of any business, sales deals or hiring new employees, maybe creating new partnerships, organizations are very careful about making changes to their processes, and that's understandable. However, that's not without cost. A traditional signature cycle employs a mix of paper, faxing, scanning, overnight mail, and interoffice mail, so I'm sure everyone is familiar with, and that process adds time and risk. And think about it, not a whole lot of value. Cycles here are typically measured in days and weeks, and that's after you've reached an agreement. The impact on your business is not only the long uncertainty you experience while waiting for the signatures to all come back to you, but it delays revenue recognition, it delays getting your customers up and running. And for many organizations, this slow and inefficient process is affecting their success rates. There isn't much good that happens in a lengthy signature cycle. In addition, manual processes introduce all kinds of possibilities for error, and it forces your frontline reps to be administrators, manually filling out contracts, following up on contracts out for signature, when their time might be better spent actually selling. And a paper process is really hard to track. We all know about those deals that had to be closed by a certain deadline, but who's got it? Where is it? Well, this is all avoidable. A recent study by Smart Selling Tools shows that those who use e-signatures consider it a top sales tool. Actually, number one for perceived benefits. Number one. And non-users, by the way, ranked it much, much lower. There's a huge leap in perception from non-users to users. And what drives that? Well, I've got 8 hints for you here on the screen. From our own research, we know that organizations are often greatly surprised at how quickly e-signatures are adopted by their teams and how it drives benefits across their organizations and with their clients. Yes, e-signatures can remove 90 to 95%, even more of the signature cycle time, and that's significant. But when you read the quotes and the success stories we have with Salesforce customers and with Conga customers, it's as much about the improved accuracy, the ability to sign anywhere, the adoption by their sales teams, the quick ROI, the transparency and the control, as it is about the speed. And it's an experience that organizations can offer to their employees and clients that they can be proud of. Adobe is committed to changing the world through digital experiences. And this absolutely extends to the signing experience with our partners, Salesforce and Conga. It doesn't take much to start experiencing these benefits for yourself. It starts with the setup process, which doesn't require a programmer to get up and running. It's menu-based setup, so even for more complex workflows, it's very easy. Your teams can manage everything right from within Salesforce, so they don't need to switch apps. Everything is presented to them in Salesforce, whether they're using Lightning or Classic. If your sales teams use Salesforce One Mobile, they can send agreements for signature from their mobile device. And you can also have agreements signed in person if you're right there with the client and they're ready to sign. And your clients don't need anything more than an email address and a browser. They don't need to be our customer, a Salesforce customer, a Conga customer. They just need an email address and a browser and a willingness to be your customer. Now, that document you sent out for signature may have had a lot of content added to it by Salesforce CPQ or Conga, pulled directly from Salesforce or from libraries. This makes sure that you have data integrity, and it's one of the reasons that finance and legal teams end up being some of the biggest champions of e-signatures within organizations. And what's really cool about Adobe Sign is that you can customize this entire experience for your clients. You can bring your brand forward throughout the signing process. So the email that they see, the post-signing experience that they have, Adobe Sign doesn't try to make our own business with your customers. It's your business, it's your customers. Everybody knows who Groupon is. They process thousands of contracts a month. And they found that the whole process was incredibly seamless and also incredibly fast. It's so fast that they were getting e-signatures while they're still on the phone with their clients. Now, it's hard to imagine a process more efficient than that. So Groupon loves the speed. They also love what it does for their reps. It gives them more time to nurture relationships with clients rather than chasing down contracts for signature. They also love the audit trail, which is a big requirement for them. And they love the convenience that the experience offers to their clients. And by the way, with that great new efficiency, they've been able to grow the volume of their contracts significantly by more than 10%. Now, there are other examples too. Diners Club UK took a signing process that averaged several days to one that is 17.3 minutes on average. It's 17.3 minutes. Imagine being able to measure your signature cycle time in minutes. And what would that do for your business? Another customer in Australia, Daniel's Health, said that they were getting 100% of their contracts back in the same day by using Adobe Sign. I said, we can't put that in a story. No one's going to believe it. 100%. It made a huge difference for their business. And they say it helped drive the adoption of Salesforce with their reps that they wanted. TiVo said they were able to reduce their paper usage associated with contracts by 99%. Which also allowed them to reduce the number of filing cabinets they had to keep around. And their legal department especially loves the difference that Adobe Sign has made, calling it one of the most value-added products they've ever seen. And we have more stories on our website, and also you can find quotes on the App Exchange as well. So, when you get to the end of the contract process and you've shown them the right configurations, the right prices, the right quotes, and you've negotiated the terms and conditions, oops, didn't want to do that. You've shown them the right terms and conditions, and you're ready to seal the deal, don't abandon the power of digital transformation right at where it's all led up to. With Adobe Sign added to your CPQ and contract management process, you'll see the benefits of getting to revenue faster, improving success rates, reducing your legal risks while improving compliance, getting the visibility you need into the contract process all the way through the signature cycle, and along the way, improving the experiences of everyone involved. So at this point, I'd like to pass it back over to Pete, and he will take us through a demo of how all these solutions work together. And there you go, Pete.
All right, thank you. So now the fun part, the demo. So if we put you to sleep with all of our slides, here comes the exciting part. So this demonstration is going to take place on the CPQ quote object. So this is a quote that's pretty much configured and approved already. You can see it's in an approved status. If I take a look at the related details, I've added my product bundle and it's all configured and ready to go. However, back to that story I was telling earlier, our client Howard wants to negotiate the terms of the contract. So I'm going to generate a quote and contract document in the form of a Word document to send it over to him for negotiation. A few things I would like to draw your attention to before we get started. You kind of keep an eye on these as we go along. Our custom contract activity component, this is a function of Conga contracts over here, and this sort of brings together all of the activity related to this negotiation process. So emails going back and forth as well as documents versioning. And then a couple of the pre-configured items on my quote down here that I would like to highlight are the payment terms, our standard terms of pay us in 15 days, and that we will ship the product to you. So now I'm going to go ahead and click the Generate Document button. This is the Salesforce CPQ document engine. I'm going to select a Word document because we're going to negotiate this. And for now, I'm just going to click Save to save it to Salesforce and then send it off for negotiation using Conga contracts. So that you can see over here, I've uploaded my first version. And then clicking the Send for Negotiation button, pretty simple, brings me to an email screen where I can find Howard. I can select an email template. I can add an additional message if I want to. It's got my document attached, and I'll go ahead and click Send. And this is a function of Conga contracts. This is sending the document off for negotiation, and the way the negotiation piece of our product works is that it's all happening within Word and email. Typical workflow of how contract negotiators like to work. More oftentimes than not, we found people aren't really interested in signing into your negotiation portal, setting up credentials for your application, sort of having to manipulate the document in an unknown, with an unknown tool. People have been working in Microsoft Word for years and years, and that's what they like to do. So that's how we've built the product. So now you'll see our quote document email was sent out. So now sort of switching personas to Howard, I'm going to go ahead and open up my email, and I see that I've got this email here with my attached document for negotiation. So, okay, Bobby has sent me the quote with the terms. Let's open this up and make some changes. So I'll go ahead and save this to my desktop. I'll just call this version 2 for now. And here we go. So now any of the native features of Microsoft Word are at our disposal. We can leave comments, we can turn on track changes. And for this, for the sake of this demo, I'll probably go about it in the most sneaky way possible and just start modifying the document, send it back and see what he can catch and what I can slip by. So I would rather download the application. Net 15, I'm going to push for net 90 days payment. And then scrolling down, let's see, the products look good. That's what we agreed to. And then we have our terms and conditions. So maybe here in the terms and conditions, I'll try to sneak in some changes right here. to their standard legal language. Maybe I'll delete this word governs here and save it and send it back. So I'm going to reply to this message with my modified version 2. And now when that email goes across, every email that goes across, it can go back and forth many, many times. Conga Contracts is going to keep eyes on that email thread and do a couple things in Salesforce every time we see a message and a document go across the wire. So I'll go ahead and give that a second and refresh Salesforce here. So now you see in our contract activity component that a reply was sent and a new document version was uploaded. So we're using the native Salesforce files repository to create a master file, and then with every turn in the negotiation, upload a new version to that file. So now as Bobby, the sales rep working in Salesforce, I see that a response from Howard has come back. I can use Salesforce Process Builder, Workflow, approval rules to trigger any sort of event based on these updates coming back into the system. But now as Bobby, I say, oh great, Howard replied. Let me use the view red lines function to see what he's changed within our standard quote and contract. So I can see, okay, he'd rather download, net 90 payment terms, and then scrolling down to the terms and conditions, I can see he's added something and deleted something. So one of the benefits of the view redline screen is that we have this version selector up here, so I can compare any number of versions, the first and the last, 2 and 4, 3 and 5, however many times it goes back and forth. And now let's, for the sake of time, say I'm authorized to approve all of these changes, and I just want to get this deal signed as quickly as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is from this screen here, use the contracts true up functionality to update all of my data in Salesforce. So over here on the left, we're going to expose all of the data in the document that does not match the data we currently have in Salesforce. So it's asking me to create a quote term revision here with the changes that were added. So I'm going to go ahead and accept those revisions and save that new quote term to Salesforce. It's also going to show me that within the document, they've proposed a new delivery method and new payment terms. So I'm going to also save those field changes to Salesforce as well. So after we've reconciled all of those cards, we can see that all of the data in the final agreed upon version of this document matches all of the data in Salesforce. So if I come over here and look at the related items, you can see that we've created a quote term. And if I open up this quote term, you can see this is tied to our quote and includes the custom language we drafted for this customer so that any future quotes with Howard will have these pre-negotiated terms in them and we won't have to circle back. This helps with things such as renewals, future deals, selling other products and services, etc. Those pre-negotiated quote terms will now propagate all the way throughout this customer's life cycle with us. Coming down here, I'll also see that we've updated these fields on our quote record for payment terms and delivery method. And keep in mind, any number of fields can be updated, not only on the quote, but related records in Salesforce, such as the account or the contact for billing address, things of that nature. So now that Salesforce is up to date, we've agreed with Howard on the terms. Really the last step in the process here is to get him to sign the deal. So I'm going to click Generate Document one more time. This time I'm going to leave it as a PDF, and this time I'm going to use the Send to Adobe Sign button. So what this is going to do is recompile a fresh PDF with all of our new terms and send it over to Howard to be signed. So now one last time, switching back over to the role of Howard, coming to my inbox. I see that here is my quote for signature. So now, pretty simple for Howard. All he has to do is open up his email. He sees he has his quote from Bobby, and he clicks this link. And now we're in the Adobe signing experience. You can see that this is our updated data with the download and the 90 days payment, as well as the our modified terms and conditions. Everything looks good. I'll jump down to the signature block, apply my signature, sign it, and we're done. And in only a matter of seconds from receiving that email, the deal has been executed, closed, and we have a new customer. So let me flip back to our presentation here, and I will pass it back to our MC, Lizzie, for any wrap-up and questions that may be out there.
Thank you, Pete. So yeah, as you guys have heard, we are Conga Contracts, Salesforce, and Adobe Sign. We're really automating that last mile of the sales cycle. Salesforce CPQ allowing you to generate your quote, generate your contract, and then from there, Conga Contracts allow you to negotiate those contracts, and then finally sign with Adobe Sign. So we do have a few questions here. So I'm going to kick it back over to Salesforce. We actually have quite a few questions on the configurability of the quote. And so Christina, if you could explain a little bit more. I know we're starting from an approved quote, but we had quite a few questions on that. So it'd be great.
Sure. So the ability to configure a quote is really important. When you are in Salesforce CPQ, you can take a look at all of the different products available, and if you have a really big library of products, we even have a guided selling tool that will help you dig down to what you need. Once you've figured out what exactly you want, you can go in, and we have rules that will allow you to, say, have required items that go together like a bundle, or say if you buy a certain product, you need training to go along with it. We have rules that will make sure that those things are sold together. We also have rules that will allow you to go in and make changes to quantities and save it all together. Sorry, I know that's a really general answer, but if you want to visit salesforce.com and visit the quote to cash section, well, we have a little demo that will just demonstrate just product configuration.
Perfect. Thank you. So Pete, we actually did have quite a few questions on Conga contracts, so I'll do a few at a time. So one of the major things that's come up here is what happens if a contract is forwarded to someone not in Salesforce? Likewise, if it was a distribution list, is that something Conga contracts can control, or how does that process work?
Yeah, so that email can be sent to anyone. A Salesforce user, not a Salesforce user, a distribution group, that's perfectly fine. And then whatever reply comes back to that message from whomever, we're going to log that activity and email message in Salesforce and take the attachment and version it in the repository.
Perfect. And on that attachment, actually, that was quite a few questions came in around that as well. What if a user sends back another version where it's not maybe a doc, it's a docx or a PDF? Like, how does that work?
Well, we will attach it into Salesforce. If it's a PDF, it kind of puts the skids on the negotiation. If you were then going to make some counter proposals,
okay.
There's really no discrepancy between doc and docx. That's totally fine. Was there another part to that question, or is that?
Yep. Nope. That was that part.
Okay.
So we'll come back to you. There are quite a few on Conga contracts, but we did get a few on the Adobe side as well. I guess the major consensus here is how the integration works. Like if you've already got Adobe or you've already got CPQ, what's the process here? And I assume that's a few different people, but in regards to the integration, how easy is it, how they go about getting multiple of the products?
Right, yes. So we have, Adobe Sign does have integrations separately with Salesforce CPQ, and also with Conga, so those integrations are available. They can be purchased, through any of those organizations. So, yeah, if you've got one and want the connection to the other, that's absolutely possible.
Perfect. And Pete, this one goes back to you. So if a customer is on this and they're currently using Conga Composer, what's the difference in using Composer
Right.
and Conga contracts here?
I forgot to mention that. Yes, totally, obviously, very much compatible with Conga Composer. So we support both document engines, Conga Composer and the Salesforce CPQ DocGen engine. So either one will work. If you already have one, you can stick with that. If you're interested in the other, you can add in the other, all very easily integratable, 100% compatible.
Perfect. And I guess this one is back to Salesforce. So it looks like there's a few questions on how code intensive this is, but we know that it's really already out of the box. So if you were able to talk a little bit to that, if there was any code needed for setup for CPQ.
So we partner with a number of implementation companies, so they can set it all up for you. You do not need to know coding to do so. And if you have a simpler product, you can self-implement as well. And there's a little bit of coding there, but not too much.
Okay, perfect. Another question, Pete and Salesforce, do we support template creation and collaboration from templates?
What kind of templates? Not really sure what you mean.
I think they're talking to contract templates specifically, but if we need a little more information, we'll make sure that we get with them afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly, like if you have a Word document that you just, nothing is dynamic about it, it never changes, that would totally be supported. And then for creating dynamic documents, you would either want CPQ or Composer. If that, I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah, and in CPQ, you can use HTML to create a template that is dynamic, yeah.
Okay. And this one goes back to Adobe with Conga contracts. How easy is it to manage the Conga and Adobe control consoles to measure the use of the applications, to basically tracking cycle times and things like that? How does the cycle times work?
I'm actually going to pass that over to Pete.
Sure.
So I think, yeah.
So with regard to all the stuff you saw in the demo, so we're logging a lot of data every step of the way. So with every turn in the negotiation, we're logging data. Within the document, we're logging data. So all of those cycle times can be surfaced through analytical tools like Salesforce Reports, Salesforce Wave, or something even like Conga Action Grid. So throughout the process, there's being a lot of data laid down so that at the end you can create reports to analyze things like cycle times and frequency of terms changing, how long did it take between when I sent it out for signature and when it came back as signed, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Adobe Sign has those dashboards as well, which goes to that point I shared earlier about Groupon, being able to see, not Groupon, but Diners Club UK, where they were seeing 17.3 minutes, and you can definitely see that signature cycle time in Adobe Sign dashboards.
Perfect. So this one is going back to Christina. Is Salesforce CPQ out of the box? Oh wait, no, never mind. I already asked that one. Sorry about that. Pete, when are the differentiators to use Composer versus CPQ to generate the document?
I guess it just depends on your document requirements. I'm not too familiar with what CPQ can and cannot do. But yeah, I guess we would just need to know the full requirements of your document, and then we can make a recommendation from there.
Perfect. All right, guys, I'm looking through. I think we got most of the questions answered. This one also goes back to the Conga Composer a little bit. Can CPQ generate documents with tables like Conga Composer can? I think that might be a Christina question.
Yeah, I believe we can.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to leave the Q&A portion open just for a little while longer. It looks like most of the questions here have answered. If we did not get to you, don't worry. We'll make sure to export the question log and get to you individually. So if you have any questions and we did miss you, we'll make sure to get to you afterwards. So thank you to our speakers. Thank you, Christina, Peter, and Pete, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate you walking us through the end-to-end contract management experience and automating the last mile of the sales cycle. If you guys, again, have any questions, feel free to email the webinar or the webinar email address that's in your email. We will also be sharing the recording after this is over. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.